Ireland is often imagined through simple symbols, green fields, rain-softened coastlines, traditional music, and ancient stone ruins. But the island's story is far more complex than a postcard image. Ireland sits in the North Atlantic, on the western edge of Europe, separated from Great Britain by the North Channel, the Irish Sea, and St. George's Channel. It is the second largest island in the British Isles, the third largest in Europe, and one of the largest islands in the world. Yet its importance cannot be measured by size alone. Ireland's geography, politics, language, religion, and culture have been shaped by centuries of contact, conflict, migration, and survival. Today, the island is divided between two political entities, the Republic of Ireland, a sovereign state covering most of the island, and Northern Ireland, which remains part of the United Kingdom. That division is one of the keys to understanding modern Ireland. The political map of Ireland can be confusing at first because the word Ireland refers to both the whole island and the independent state officially named Ireland. The Republic of Ireland covers about 5/6 of the island and has a population of roughly 5.1 million people. Northern Ireland occupies the remaining northeastern sixth, with around 1.9 million people, and is part of the United Kingdom. Together, the island's population is just over 7 million, making it the second most populous island in Europe after Great Britain. This political split is not just an administrative boundary. It reflects centuries of settlement, religious division, British rule, Irish nationalism, and difficult compromises. To understand why one island contains two different political systems, we have to look at the landscape first, then the history that unfolded across it. Ireland's physical geography has strongly influenced the way people lived there. The island is shaped around a broad central plain, surrounded by lower mountain ranges and rugged coastal edges. Rather than towering alpine landscapes, Ireland has accessible hills, valleys, boglands, river systems, and fertile lowlands. Several rivers extend inland and have historically helped movement, farming, trade, and settlement. The Atlantic Ocean also plays a defining role. Its influence gives Ireland a mild and highly moderate climate. Winters are gentler than might be expected for a place so far north, while summers are cooler than in much of continental Europe. The same oceanic climate also brings frequent rainfall and cloud cover. That abundance of moisture is a major reason for Ireland's famous green vegetation, but it also shaped agriculture, settlement patterns, and daily life. Ireland was once much more wooded than it is today. Until the end of the Middle Ages, large parts of the island were covered in woodland. Over time, forests were cleared for farming, settlement, shipbuilding, fuel, and land management. Today, woodland covers only about 10% of the island, far below the European average of over 33%. Even much of that remaining tree cover consists of non-native conifer plantations rather than ancient native forest. This change matters because it reveals how deeply human activity has transformed the Irish landscape. The Ireland many people imagine as timeless and untouched is actually the product of centuries of environmental change. Fields, hedgerows, bogs, pastures, towns, and plantations all tell a story of adaptation between people, climate, economy, and land. Long before modern borders, Ireland developed a distinctive Gaelic society. By around the 1st century AD, Gaelic Ireland had emerged, organized not as one centralized kingdom but as a patchwork of local rulers, kinship groups, and shifting alliances. The island was divided among petty kings, who were connected to larger traditional provinces known in Irish as Suega, meaning fifths. These provincial kings competed for prestige and dominance, and above them stood the idea of a High King of Ireland. The position of High King was not always a stable national monarchy in the modern sense. Instead, it reflected a political culture built around status, tribute, military strength, and symbolic authority. This early Gaelic world also preserved its own law traditions, oral learning, poetry, and social structures, forming the foundation of Ireland's indigenous culture. From the 5th century onward, Ireland was Christianized, and this transformed the island's intellectual and cultural life. Christianity did not simply erase existing Gaelic society, it blended with it in complicated ways. Monasteries became centers of learning, manuscript production, religious authority, and international connection. Ireland's position at the edge of Europe did not mean isolation. Irish religious communities interacted with Britain and continental Europe, and Irish monks became known for scholarship and missionary activity. This Christian era helped produce a culture that valued writing, memory, genealogy, sacred art, and learning. It also preserved elements of earlier Gaelic tradition through texts copied and reworked by Christian scribes. Ireland's identity, therefore, developed through layers: native Gaelic institutions, Christian belief, and wider European connection. Between the late 8th and early 11th centuries, Viking raids and settlements brought another major turning point. Vikings first appeared as raiders, attacking monasteries and coastal sites for wealth and captives. But over time, they also became settlers, traders, and town builders. Some of Ireland's important urban centres grew from Norse foundations or influence, linking the island more closely to maritime trade networks across the North Atlantic and Irish Sea. Viking power in Ireland eventually faced serious resistance from Gaelic rulers. The most famous moment came at the Battle of Clontarf on April 23, 1014, associated with Brian Boru, a powerful Irish king. The battle did not simply remove all Norse presence, but it marked the end of Viking political dominance in Ireland. The Norse remained part of the island's story, absorbed into its evolving society. In the 12th century, Ireland entered a new phase with the Anglo-Norman invasion. Anglo-Norman forces arrived from Britain and began establishing lordships, castles, and new forms of political control. England claimed sovereignty over Ireland, but for centuries that claim did not translate into complete control across the island. Instead, authority was uneven. Some areas were strongly influenced by English law, language, and aristocratic power, while other regions remained under Gaelic rule or followed hybrid customs. Over time, many descendants of Norman settlers became deeply integrated into Irish society. Still, the invasion began a long relationship between Ireland and England that would become increasingly unequal. The struggle over land, authority, culture, and allegiance would shape Irish history for hundreds of years. English rule expanded dramatically during the Tudor conquest of the 16th and 17th centuries. This was not just a military campaign, it was a restructuring of Irish society. The English state sought to bring the whole island under firmer control, weaken Gaelic lordships, and impose new political and religious authority. Colonization by settlers from Britain followed, especially in strategic regions. These settlements were tied to land confiscation, plantation schemes, and the spread of Protestant political power in a country where the majority remained Catholic. In the 1690s, a system of Protestant English rule was designed to materially disadvantage the Catholic majority and also Protestant dissenters. During the 18th century, this system hardened social and political divisions. Land ownership, religion, rights, and identity became deeply entangled. In 1801, the Acts of Union formally made Ireland part of the United Kingdom. This tied Ireland directly to the British state at Westminster, but it did not resolve the island's tensions. One of the most devastating events in Irish history came in the 1840s, the Great Famine. Potato blight destroyed the crop on which much of the poor rural population depended. The catastrophe led to mass death and mass emigration, reducing the population by over 20%. The famine was not only a natural disaster. It became a lasting symbol of political failure, social inequality, and imperial neglect. Millions left Ireland, especially for North America and Britain, creating a global Irish diaspora. The famine permanently changed the island's population, language patterns, economy, and political consciousness. By the early 20th century, pressure for Irish self-government had grown into a struggle for independence. After conflict and political upheaval, a war of independence was followed by the partition of the island. The result was the creation of the Irish Free State, which covered most of Ireland and became increasingly sovereign over the following decades. In 1948, it declared itself a republic through the Republic of Ireland Act. Northern Ireland, however, remained within the United Kingdom. Partition reflected different political loyalties, religious demographics, and fears about majority rule. For Irish nationalists, partition was an unfinished wound. For many Unionists in Northern Ireland, remaining in the United Kingdom was central to their identity and security. The border became not just a line on a map, but a symbol of competing histories. Northern Ireland experienced severe civil unrest from the late 1960s into the 1990s, a period commonly known as the Troubles. The conflict involved disputes over civil rights, discrimination, policing, national identity, constitutional status, and violence by paramilitary groups. It affected everyday life through fear, segregation, military presence, bombings, imprisonment, and grief. The Good Friday Agreement of 1998 marked a major turning point. It created a political framework based on power sharing, consent, and cooperation between communities, as well as links between Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and the United Kingdom. The agreement did not erase all divisions, but it greatly reduced violence and provided institutions for managing disagreement. In modern Irish history, it stands as one of the most important examples of negotiated peace after a long conflict. Ireland's modern place in Europe adds another layer to its story. In 1973, both the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland, joined the European Economic Community, the organization that later became the European Union. Membership helped reshape Ireland's economy, infrastructure, trade, and international outlook. But after the United Kingdom voted in 2016 to leave the EU, the island's border question returned in a new form. The UK, including Northern Ireland, left the European Union in 2020. Because an open border on the island was central to peace and daily life, Northern Ireland received a special arrangement allowing it to operate within the EU single market for goods without being a full EU member. This unusual status shows how Ireland's geography and history still shape European politics. Ireland's influence reaches far beyond its borders, especially through culture. Irish literature has had a major impact on the world, and the island's writers, poets, and storytellers helped make Ireland a cultural power far larger than its population might suggest. Alongside mainstream Western culture, a strong Indigenous tradition remains visible in Gaelic games, Irish music, Irish dance, and the Irish language. At the same time, Ireland shares many features with Great Britain, including the widespread use of English in popular sports such as football, rugby, horse racing, golf, and boxing. This mixture is what makes Ireland so distinctive, ancient and modern, local and global, divided and connected. It is an island shaped by ocean weather, colonial conflict, migration, resilience, and creativity. To understand Ireland is to understand how geography and history can leave deep marks on identity. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.